So, we are going back over to the 2 Mutts Hockey Podcast Twitter account. We've made a few videos going over some of their updates, and unbeknownst to me, some of their updates over the past few weeks actually did end up coming true. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these were one of the first guys to go out there and break the news on Stan Bowman, but they went out there and posted another tweet of Edmonton Oilers news earlier this afternoon. And what I wanted to do was go out there and talk about each of these talking points. There are 3 individual updates that we can go over, so you know it works out well. 3 points, about 3 minutes each. That's a 9 and a bit minute video. So let's go out there and talk about some of the new updates in regards to the Edmonton Oilers and some of their players. Starting out with the biggest name on the block. Leon Draisaitl contract extension talks are going great, according to their sources. There has been some talk that Leon's camp would ask for $14.5 million on the AAV, but he is willing to take less than that to stay in Edmonton. And it will be an 8-year deal from what we are told. His deal should be 8 years, $13.3 to $13.5 million. Leon is taking less to stay in Edmonton. Now, this does align with a lot of the stuff that we had seen prior to. How Leon Draisaitl is not interested in a 3, 4, 5-year deal. He only wants 7, he only wants 8. And it checks out with the notion that we had seen that says that he would be willing to take a discount. If Leon Draisaitl were to hit the free agent market, I think it's very clear that he would get something in the 14.5, maybe even $15 million range. We had talked about this idea with the San Jose Sharks, with the Boston Bruins, a bunch of other teams getting involved in there as to teams that could overpay for a guy like Leon. But if he's staying in Edmonton, if he's the first domino to fall out of these superstar caliber guys with the Oilers that are willing to take pay cuts alongside of Bouchard and McDavid, then it could set a very good precedence for the rest of the team. It's like the anti-Toronto over there. If, of course, Leon Draisaitl decides to take, let's say, just a $13 million deal. He'll be paid more than McDavid for about a season or 2 before McDavid retakes the crown as the most paid player in the NHL, and Leon Draisaitl might not even overtake Austin Matthews in that time frame either. So I think it's a really good update to see here from the Oilers and Leon Draisaitl. It checks out with all the other stuff that we had seen. Obviously, fear-mongering aside, this is really great news for the Oilers, and I don't really know if it's all too surprising at this point if we think about all the other stuff that's been said. If he takes less than Matthews, then man, what a great contract that would be. Now, we have ourselves some other updates in regards to other forwards on the Oilers too, like this. Evander Kane will be ready for training camp. He'll take part of the captain's skates come early September, and going on the LTIR is not the plan, according to sources. Kane and his family have invested in staying in Edmonton over the next 2 years and beyond. The Ducks and Kings have interest in Kane, but he is not looking to waive his no-move clause at this time. He wants to be an Oiler. Now, this is a tough situation. Everybody's been talking about Evander Kane over the course of the offseason. Oh, his contract is bad, it's this, it's that, he's not good, he's injured, LTIR, whatever. There have been a lot of different talking points to explore when it comes to Evander Kane and his profile, but to see that this apparently is the plan, just run the course, stick it out with Edmonton, don't get traded, he doesn't want to go back over to California. Interesting how he was a Shark, and now it seems like the Ducks and the Kings are 2 of the other names being tossed in there into potential trade destinations, but for Evander Kane to committing to sticking to Edmonton, this is of course a good sign for the Oilers. It means that players want to play in Edmonton, but at the same time, you have to start wondering, would this be the best move for the Edmonton Oilers? We'd already seen all these discussions pop up here and there about how his contract has negative value and this and that, and we do know that when Evander Kane is on his game, he actually is effective and he can score. So at some point, the Edmonton Oilers are going to have to make that choice, you know? Where exactly do they place him in the lineup if he's good enough or healthy enough to even suit up for the team? What's the game plan there? There's a little bit more brainstorming that has to be done with Evander Kane in his future, especially since he has that no-move clause and he's committed to staying in Edmonton for a while. Of course, though, best case scenario, he comes back, he's good, he scores 30 goals. If Evander Kane gets 30, Jeff Skinner gets 30, McDavid gets maybe 45, 50. Zach Hyman gets 50. Draisaitl gets 45, 50. And then Nugent Hopkins gets 25 as well. Like, that could be an absolute powerhouse of an offensive unit in Edmonton. Not even to say that it's not a powerhouse without Kane in the lineup. It's just if you have Kane and he is good, he is healthy, he's ready to go, he's exhibiting the same success that he had in years prior, then you kind of have to take this car and drive it like you stole it, right? So Edmonton does have a pretty good opportunity here if Evander Kane is able to come back and he is as good as he has been. Of course, though, nothing's guaranteed at this point. We'll have to wait and see. Let's go on to the third and final point that was brought up into this tweet by the Two Mutts Hockey podcast. Here it is. Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg are both expected to sign 2-year deals next week. Holloway could be in the AAV range of $1.3 million, and Broberg could be in the $1.1 million range. Obviously, this is not really the biggest piece of news. When you want to talk about contract signings and guys that could be getting paid, everybody refers to Draisaitl. He's the big name right now, and I guess Bouchard too. But Broberg and Holloway, these two guys, first-round picks from the Oilers in 2019 and 2020. These are both guys that I do think have good futures in the NHL. Holloway, I feel like he has been a little bit slow in comparison to what people thought he'd be able to be immediately out of the NHL draft and the NCAA. Philip Broberg still has a little bit of work to do with his hockey sense and being able to make the best decisions. I mean, he did score some pretty interesting points in the final series against Florida, so he is progressing, I would say. At the end of the day, though, both of these guys are young. They both have futures in the NHL, and if Dylan Holloway is able to round out his game to become the, let's say, 50-60 point guy that he was projected to being, then okay, that's great. Philip Broberg, same thing. If he could project out as a 40-point defenseman, maybe 40 is pushing it a little bit too much, maybe 30-35 points as a puck-rushing, puck-moving guy, then I think you're happy about that, for sure, especially if you use these guys not as your number one options, but as extra additional support to the core that you already have with the McDavids and the Draisaitls, the Canes and the Bouchards, etc., etc. So nice to see these guys potentially getting signed next week, and if they're both in the 2-year deal category, it would be pretty good for them to, let's say, give themselves that prove-it opportunity, because Dylan Holloway is 22 years old, Broberg is a year older. This is kind of that transitory period where they're starting to take the next steps. They're becoming full-time 82-game NHL guys. By the time these 2-year contracts are over, they should be full-time guys, and if they're not, then it kind of signals to the Oilers that they probably should go in a different direction with these players. But we've got 2 years of Holloway and Broberg development to go through before we get to that conclusion in 2026. So for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Firstly, about the Leon Draisaitl conversation, his $14.5 million ask, and his 13-point-something potential $1 million real AAV. What are your thoughts on his 8-year extension? That seems like the most likely option. What are your thoughts on Evander Kane and his potential health getting back up to where it needs to be to become an effective NHL player? And what are your thoughts on him not wanting to waive to LA or to Anaheim, go back over to Cali? They could use some pretty interesting scoring forwards if you would ask me about that. And of course, what are your thoughts on Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg potentially being on the cusp of 2-year extensions in the $1-point-something million range? Both of these guys, I think, have potential still, but it just kind of depends on where you see them fitting into the lineup. They're going to need some opportunities if they want to become better. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about all of these Oilers topics. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.